Okay, hi. I haven't really gotten much sleep, and I'm usually not nervous. But for some reason, I'm nervous today. Maybe it's all the caffeine, or maybe it's all the adrenaline running through my body right now. But I know that the first batch, because I've been living and breathing this conference, planning this conference for the last 2, 3 weeks. I knew the first batch is going to be all journalists and bloggers. So I wanted to veer away from probably some of the topics which I probably expected the people to talk about. But it's a topic that's very close to my heart. It's crowdsourcing and disease mapping. I thought about the challenge that Mashable raised and how we can use new media technology to solve the world's problems or problems that we're facing in our communities. So one of them is actually my dad's a doctor, and he's a doctor to the barrios, and health has always been a focus of our family, and so it's a matter that's also close to my heart. So allow me to go over some things today. Let me show you some slides. This is very quick, so Ray, you can just go over the next 5 slides quickly. Does anybody know these scenes? They're all screen grabs. Warning, some of them might be gory. Anybody? Can anybody guess? That's Contagion. Yes, these are screens from the movie Contagion, and I'm glad some of the details are not seen. You can actually forward them. The story, basically, this is Minnesota. It starts right away from the start of the movie, top of the movie. The disease was spreading. Like 3 or 4 people just died at the beginning, and you could see the movement. You don't see when people pass germs on to each other, but you can see it. Somehow you can feel germs being passed on from one person to the other. So can you go back a couple of slides? Okay. So anyway, that movie, although it's probably over the top, it does point out an important thing. We need to be prepared in case there is an outbreak of something as dangerous as that virus going around in Contagion. And it reminds us to be prepared. Look at all these pictures. What if this happened in real life? And what would we do? Okay, we can move on. And this is NH1, N1H1. And then it was in 2009 when we all got scared of N1H1. And actually, here in 2012, there was another threat that didn't really materialize, but there was a threat. There's another one. This is the Ebola virus. And just a couple of, I think it was last month, when there were outbreaks in the Democratic Republic of Congo and also nearby Uganda, although they were different strains. So anyway, I'd like to go and define crowdsourcing. Let's pause the talk about health. Crowdsourcing is mobilizing a group of people to share in a common task. Now, these tasks can be very, very easy. They can be as simple as just a simple task. Nothing, you don't really have to exert a lot of energy and effort. But when everyone comes together and does that task, the product of the whole is actually much more valuable. That's, for me, what crowdsourcing is. Next slide. Wikipedia is a great example of that. People come online and just help build this encyclopedia. And I know a lot of students can't quote it, but it's a great resource, and I'm sure everyone who's here today has gone to Wikipedia to get some information, and I'm sure a lot of you trust the information even if it's coming from a wide body of people. At Rappler, we have a tool, the mood meter, which is also an example of crowdsourcing. For some people, when they look at the mood meter, it looks like a toy. It's almost like a Facebook like. But here is a great example of the ease of that one single act of participating in a crowdsourcing project. All you have to do, next slide please, Ray, is to read a story. And this was from today. This is our top story on Rappler. Glenda, have we changed it yet? Not yet. Trilliana Still, PH Backdoor Negotiator. People read a story and we ask them, how does this story make you feel? We give them 8 emotions: happy, inspired, sad, afraid, angry, amused, don't care, annoyed. So just one click. But the beauty of the mood meter is you can go in and you can see that a large majority of the people are angry. Some are annoyed, but there are some supporters who are fighting back and who are happy about this. But if you pull out and look at all the stories that we have on any given day, we have the mood navigator, and it gives us a little bit more insight. So you had one story in the mood meter. Now we have all the stories in Rappler, and this is from today. We have a pretty colorful mood navigator today, which means some stories make people amused, some stories make people happy, but today most people are angry. The mood navigator changes from day to day. Let me show you some other samples. Some days, just two colors. Some days, everyone's happy. Now, this was the day that Corona was convicted. But what's one thing I want to point out is not all the stories on the mood navigator that day were about Corona. But you see how people, because of the general sentiment is happy, they kind of get affected, and they're basically just all happy on that given day. There's another day when Mars, this is probably the day when Mars was probably close to the Earth or something. Everybody was angry, and this was the day that Arroyo posted bail. Again, there were some stories that had nothing to do with Arroyo, but the general mood of the day was people were angry. So what does this tell you? Being able to just crowdsource, just ask people to asking people how they feel and click on one mood. If you zoom out and watch this behavior over time, you can actually find patterns. And we found that there were two important deaths that we covered over this year, that of Dolphy and then Secretary Robredo. Filipinos, of course, when someone important dies, so the general sentiment is sad. But we feel that we hit a tipping point, and sad slowly changes to inspired. And so we look back to find out what caused these shifts from sad to inspired, and we found that they were looking for resolution. When Dolphy died, it was after he was buried. That's when people were inspired, and people began talking about his legacy. For Robredo, he'd gone missing for a while, and when they finally found him, people got the resolution they needed. They could move on. Filipinos could move on, and then they began to think of his legacy. That's when they were inspired. So this is just one example of how a little, being able to get people together and see their collective wisdom and study that can actually provide insight into the way people think and other patterns. So let's go back to, I have two more slides left. Let's go back to health. Rappler has launched what we call a disease map. And let me show you the next slide, my last slide. And what we're trying to do is create an infectious diseases tracker. There are not a lot of reports yet. And I think it was good that all these other fine people, bloggers and journalists spoke before me, because they talked about the importance of working together. And Carlos' closing points really reflect what I want to share with all of you. And I'm also glad that all of you are here today. We have people from all the different networks. We have people from different industries, and in some points, we compete against each other. But what Rappler really wants to do is really be all inclusive. And that's why you're all here today. And I think it's something, when you think about the nature of the internet, Web 2.0, we talk about the open web and people working together. And I feel that if we can set aside all these other agenda that we have and work together for a common task, we can push crowdsourcing forward. We do need everyone's help to be able to come up with a list and maybe help identify diseases that are being spread in the Philippines, and maybe be able to provide solutions before it gets out of hand. So that's my challenge for all of you today. Thanks for listening.